What if becoming great at handling life's challenges isn't about pushing yourself harder, but about thinking more clearly? In this audiobook, you'll uncover the proven methods high-level thinkers use to predict change, choose wisely, and build long-term success. You'll learn how to sharpen your mind, overcome obstacles intelligently, move with accuracy, and confidently steer your life in the direction you want. Introduction. Why strategic thinking is your ultimate advantage? Let me start with a simple question. When life hits you with the unexpected, do you simply react, or do you respond with strategy? We live in a world that constantly pulls at your attention, pushes you to rush, demands quick answers, and pressures you to act immediately. How often do you stop and ask yourself, what's the smartest decision I can make right now? That pause, that short moment of deliberate thought, is where real power is born. It's where average people rise above the ordinary. It's the moment you stop playing checkers and begin playing chess. This is the heart of strategic thinking. And make no mistake, it's your greatest strength. The moment that changes everything. Most people operate on autopilot. They wake up, scroll their phones, react to whatever the day throws at them, answer messages, complete tasks, and barely pause to breathe. When challenges appear, they respond fast, but not thoughtfully. Emotions take control. Stress, fear, frustration, and anxiety guide their choices. Strategic thinkers, however, operate differently. They slow down. They observe. They plan. They don't focus only on what's happening now. They think several steps ahead. They ask, what's the long-term outcome? How does this decision fit into the bigger picture? What consequences might follow? This way of thinking explains why some people stay calm in chaos, adapt under pressure, and create breakthroughs while others are constantly overwhelmed. Strategic thinking isn't reserved for generals, CEOs, or politicians. It's available to you right now. No matter who you are or where you come from, you can use it. You simply need to learn how. And that's exactly what this audiobook is here to teach. What strategic thinking really means. Let's clear up a common misunderstanding. Strategic thinking isn't about manipulation, emotional coldness, or rigid control. It's not about overplanning or trying to outsmart everyone around you. It's not an exclusive skill meant only for boardrooms or battlefields. Strategic thinking is a way of facing challenges and opportunities with awareness, foresight, and intention. It means acting deliberately instead of reacting emotionally. It means choosing wisely, anticipating outcomes, and understanding how one decision affects another. It's about recognizing patterns, seeing how systems work, and knowing where to apply effort for the greatest effect. And it's personal. Strategic thinking helps you respond calmly when your partner is upset. It supports you during career shifts, tough conversations, parenting struggles, business problems, and financial uncertainty. Where others feel trapped, it gives you options. Where others feel chaos, it gives you control. Think of it like an internal navigation system. You choose your destination, assess where you are, explore possible paths, avoid obstacles, and move forward with confidence. Why strategic thinking matters now more than ever. We live in an era of constant information, non-stop notifications, and endless distraction. Everything moves faster, but strategic thinking teaches you how to slow your mind while the world speeds up. It's the difference between being dragged by a storm and learning how to sail through it. Strategic thinking helps you make smarter choices quickly, lowers stress and emotional reactions, sharpens priorities, strengthens your advantage at work and in relationships, and builds confidence through clarity. Consider this example. Two people lose their jobs unexpectedly. Person A panics. They apply everywhere, accept the first offer, and spend the next year feeling exhausted, underpaid, and unfulfilled. Why? They reacted. Person B pauses. They process the shock, review their finances, think about long-term goals, seek advice, and apply only to roles that match their values and skills. Within months, they secure a better-paying position that excites them. Same situation, completely different outcomes. The difference wasn't luck. One reacted, the other planned. Strategic thinking and success go hand in hand. Look at high achievers in any field: business, sports, art, leadership. Yes, they work hard. Yes, they're disciplined. But more than anything, they think strategically. They don't rely on hope. They plan, adjust, assess risk, and choose carefully. They know when to move forward and when to step back. They anticipate obstacles, think ahead, and stay focused even when things get complicated. Strategic thinking helps you manage what you can control, navigate uncertainty, and make the most of opportunities. The key isn't having perfect plans. It's developing the ability to adapt intelligently. Great strategists aren't rigid. They're flexible, resilient, and clear about what truly matters. That's what this audiobook will teach you. Not just how to plan, but how to think, how to lead yourself wisely and face challenges with confidence. What's coming next? Here's what you'll learn. Chapter 1 builds the foundation of a strategic mindset, helping you shift from emotional reactions to long-term thinking. Chapter 2 focuses on clarity, defining what you truly want and mapping the path to achieve it. Chapter 3 explores how to gather useful information without getting overwhelmed. Chapter 4 teaches you how to see the bigger picture and recognize hidden connections. Chapter 5 introduces anticipation, preparing for the future while managing the present. Chapter 6 covers timing, knowing when to act and when to wait. Chapter 7 explains leverage, achieving more with less effort. Chapter 8 helps you stay adaptable while protecting your vision. Chapter 9 dives into the psychology of strategy, understanding people, influence, and communication. Chapter 10 brings everything together through execution, turning plans into real results. Each chapter includes examples, tools, and mindset shifts designed to help you think clearly, lead effectively, and solve problems like a strategist. By the end, strategic thinking won't just be something you understand. It will be how you live. You'll move with purpose, confidence, and calm. You'll rise above distractions and create outcomes that truly matter. Final thought: you already have what you need. Strategic thinking doesn't require genius, advanced degrees, or extraordinary intelligence. It only requires the willingness to slow down, think clearly, and act intentionally. You already possess the raw material. This book is simply the guide, and I'll be here with you throughout the journey. Take a breath. Prepare to shift your mindset. You're about to learn how to overcome challenges not by luck, but by choice. Let's begin. Chapter 1: The Strategic Mindset. How to think before you react. Let's start with a truth many people ignore. Your greatest strength isn't knowledge, talent, or experience. It's your ability to choose how you think. In the end, success doesn't belong to the fastest, strongest, or smartest. It belongs to those who can pause, assess, and think clearly under pressure. That is the power of a strategic mindset. What strategic thinking truly means: when people hear the word strategy, they often picture army commanders studying maps, powerful executives analyzing numbers, or chess experts planning several moves ahead. And those images aren't wrong. But strategic thinking isn't confined to intense war rooms or corporate offices. Strategic thinking is a mindset. It's a way of handling decisions, problems, and opportunities with intention and awareness. It means asking yourself questions like, what result am I aiming for? What is the smartest way to reach it? What challenges might appear, and how can I prepare for them? What resources do I have, and how can I use them effectively? Strategic thinkers don't move simply because something feels urgent. They act when it's logical. They consider outcomes, think about consequences, and position themselves for success not just in the moment, but over time. Here's how it plays out in real life. A reactive mindset says, I'm angry, so I'll speak right now. A strategic mindset says, I'm angry, so I'll take a moment and decide how to address this in a way that actually fixes the issue. A reactive mindset panics when things fall apart. A strategic mindset steps back, evaluates the situation, and searches for options. A reactive mindset looks for fast solutions. A strategic mindset aims for lasting results. This isn't about being slow or unsure. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing your response instead of letting emotions, pressure, or fear make decisions for you. Why most people react instead of think? Let's be honest. Reacting is easy. It feels automatic. Something triggers you, and you respond immediately. Something unexpected happens, and you act without thinking. That's how humans are wired. Fight or flight. Survival mode. Instant reactions. But we no longer live in a world where instincts alone solve problems. Most modern challenges require thinking, not reflexes. That's where many people struggle. They fire off angry messages, make impulsive purchases, explode in relationships, quit too early, or stay stuck too long because they're operating in reaction mode. It's not entirely their fault. Society rewards speed. Move fast. Act now. Don't pause. But here's the truth. You don't need more speed. You need more direction. And that's exactly what strategic thinking provides. Strategic thinkers pause. They reflect. They train themselves to think before acting, plan before speaking, and consider outcomes before they happen. That pause, that small moment of restraint, is where real power exists. Replacing emotional reactions with calm thinking. Let's talk about emotions. We all have them. And emotions aren't the enemy. They're signals. They tell you how you feel, but they're not always qualified to make decisions. Picture this. You're driving, and someone suddenly cuts you off. Your pulse spikes. You feel the urge to honk, shout, or chase them. But if you pause for just a second and think strategically, you realize the moment isn't worth your energy. Now apply that same thinking to bigger situations. A disagreement with someone you care about. A setback at work. Financial stress. A health scare. Your first reaction may be fear, anger, or despair. But with training, you can notice those emotions without acting on them. Here's a simple tool: the 3-second rule. Before responding, pause for 3 seconds and ask yourself, what outcome do I want? Is my reaction helping or hurting that outcome? What would a strategic version of me do next? Those 3 seconds can protect relationships, save energy, and completely change the direction of a situation. The goal isn't to eliminate emotions. It's to manage them wisely. Think of emotions like weather. You can't control the storm, but you can decide how you move through it. Calm thinking means stepping outside the storm and asking, what's really happening here? What choices do I have? This shift from emotion to evaluation turns confusion into clarity. Building mental discipline and long-term vision now comes the part many people avoid. Discipline. Because strategic thinking isn't just about how you react in the moment. It's about how you train your mind over time. Mental discipline means learning to delay pleasure, resist impulses, and think beyond today. Ask yourself, where do I want to be 6 months from now? What will my future self thank me for doing today? What habits, thoughts, or influences are pulling me off track? Most people make choices based on how they feel right now. Strategic thinkers decide based on where they want to end up. That takes restraint. It's not always comfortable, but it always pays off. Here's another useful tool: the future self test. Before making a decision, imagine your future self watching you. Would they be proud of this choice or regret the consequences? This habit helps you zoom out and see the bigger picture. When you see the bigger picture, small distractions lose their power. You stop chasing quick wins that damage long-term goals. Consider a real-world example. You're offered a job with good pay, but the hours are exhausting and the environment is unhealthy. A reactive mindset says, I need money, and accepts immediately. A strategic mindset says, money matters, but what will this cost me long-term? My health, my peace, my relationships. That pause might lead you to negotiate better conditions, search for a smarter opportunity, or plan a smoother transition. Either way, it gives you power. Strategic power. Training your mind to think strategically every day. You might be wondering if strategic thinking is something you're born with or something you can learn. The truth is, it's completely learnable. Like any skill, it requires practice, repetition, and intention. Here are a few daily habits to strengthen your strategic thinking. Ask better questions. When faced with a challenge, ask, what's really going on here? What does success look like? What's the smartest next move? Strategic thinkers don't dwell on problems. They focus on clarity. Reflect on your decisions. Spend 5 minutes each day reviewing your choices. Did I react emotionally or think strategically? What will I improve tomorrow? Over time, this builds awareness and consistency. Think like a chess player. Don't focus only on the next move. Think 2, 3, or 4 steps ahead. Ask yourself, if I do this, what happens next? Life rewards those who anticipate, not just react. Choose your environment wisely. Surround yourself with people who think long-term, make thoughtful decisions, and value growth. Their mindset will influence yours. Final thoughts. Shifting from reactive to strategic, you were never meant to live on autopilot. You were designed to lead, to make strong, thoughtful, and intelligent choices. Every challenge in your life becomes easier to handle when you shift from reacting emotionally to thinking strategically. This isn't just a skill you learn. It's a change in identity. You're no longer someone who panics, overreacts, or spirals under pressure. You become someone who pauses, assesses the situation, and thinks long-term. Starting today, begin stepping into that identity. Practice slowing down. Ask better questions. Choose the next smart move instead of the next emotional reaction. Because the truth is, your mind is your greatest weapon. And once you learn how to control it, there's no challenge you can't overcome. Chapter 2. Clarity is power. Defining your endgame. Clarity is power. Defining your end goal. Let me ask you a question. It sounds simple, but it reveals everything. What do you truly want? Most people struggle to answer this clearly. They'll say things like, I want success, I want happiness, or I want more money. But those answers are vague. They aren't strategies. They're wishes. Strategic thinking always begins with clarity. Because if you don't know exactly what you're aiming for, you can't create an intelligent plan to reach it. And without a clear destination, every distraction starts to feel like an opportunity. Here's the truth. Clarity is your strongest advantage. Why unclear goals cause real problems? Imagine getting into your car without knowing where you're going. You could waste fuel for hours, drive in circles, get lost, or end up nowhere meaningful. That's how many people live their lives. They wake up and react to whatever feels urgent. They chase random opportunities. They follow what others are doing, but they rarely stop to ask, is this actually bringing me closer to what I want? Without clarity, you say yes to distractions. You spend time on goals that aren't truly yours. You mistake being busy for making progress. That's the hidden danger of constant activity. You can stay busy without moving forward. Clarity changes that. When you know your end game, decisions become simpler. You stop reacting and start aligning. You stop doubting and start moving with purpose. Step 1. Identifying your real goals. Let's begin here. What is your true goal? Not what your parents expect. Not what society praises. Not what sounds impressive. What do you genuinely want? To find the answer, you need to go deeper than surface-level responses. Ask yourself these questions. What does success mean to me, not to anyone else? What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? What impact do I want to have on others? What do I want to be remembered for? When I look back 10 years from now, what will I regret not doing? You're not just chasing a job, a relationship, or a title. You're chasing a life, a feeling, and a legacy. The more specific your answers become, the more powerful your vision grows. Specificity fuels strategy. Instead of saying, I want to be successful, say, I want to build a business that gives me freedom and helps people. I want to be debt-free and invest $100,000 by age 40. I want to work 4 days a week and spend Fridays with my family. That's clarity. And clarity creates action. Step 2. Reverse engineering success. Once your goal is clear, don't just admire it. Reverse engineer it. Strategic thinkers don't only dream forward. They plan backward. They start with the outcome and ask, what needs to happen for this to become real? If your goal is to become a published author, picture yourself holding your book. Then ask, what comes right before that? Maybe securing a publisher. Before that, finishing the manuscript. Before that, writing chapters. Before that, outlining the book. Before that, scheduling regular writing time. Suddenly, your dream becomes a clear sequence of steps. This is reverse engineering, and it's one of the fastest ways to turn vision into strategy. Another example. Say your goal is financial independence within 10 years. Ask yourself, what does that actually mean? How much income? What lifestyle? How much must I earn, save, and invest each year? What skills or opportunities can help me reach that point? What can I start doing this month? When you break big goals into measurable milestones, those milestones become your roadmap. Most people don't fail because they lack effort. They fail because they don't know the steps. Strategic thinkers design the steps backward. Step 3. Outcome-driven priorities. Now let's connect everything. Clarity without action is just noise. That's why strategic thinkers don't ask, what should I do today? They ask, what matters most right now based on where I'm going? That's outcome-driven prioritization. Not all tasks are equal. Some feel urgent but don't matter much. Others don't feel urgent but create massive impact. Strategic thinkers choose based on results, not emotions. If your goal is to launch a side business in 6 months, you could spend hours scrolling branding ideas, watching logo tutorials, or endlessly planning. Or you could focus on building the product, talking to potential customers, and testing your idea. Which one actually moves you forward? Each day, ask yourself, is this task aligned with my end game? Does this bring me closer to my goal, or just keep me busy? Here's a tool called the Power Priority Filter. Write down your top 3 goals. Then list your weekly tasks. For each task, ask, does this directly support one of my top 3 goals? If the answer is no, eliminate it, delegate it, or delay it. This single habit can save you hundreds of hours in a year. It also gives you permission to say no. Once you know where you're going, you're not required to say yes to things that don't help you get there. Saying no to good options is how you say yes to great ones. Bonus, the one-sentence strategy. Here's a powerful exercise. Describe your entire strategy in 1 sentence. For example, I'm building a coaching business to replace my full-time income within 12 months. Or, I'm prioritizing my health so I can live 20 more high-quality years. Or, I'm creating digital products to generate passive income and reclaim my time. This forces clarity. If you can't explain your strategy in 1 sentence, you're not clear yet. Write it down. Read it daily. Let it guide your decisions. Final thought, don't just move. Move with purpose. Let's close this section with a simple truth. Motion is not the same as progress. Clarity is what turns movement into real momentum. You're not here just to stay busy. You're here to build something meaningful, to live with intention instead of running on autopilot, to take control of your life rather than constantly reacting to it. Strategic thinking isn't about being flawless. It's about being focused and intentional. Starting today, get clear on what you truly want, not what others expect from you. Break that goal down into small, practical actions. Be ruthless about prioritizing what matters most. Because once you understand the what and the why, the how becomes much clearer. You're no longer just imagining a better future. You're actively designing it. Chapter 3. Information is ammunition. Learn before you move. Picture yourself stepping onto a battlefield. You can't see the terrain. You don't know where threats are hiding. You have no idea what tools or weapons are available. Would you rush forward blindly? Of course not. Yet that's exactly how many people approach life, business, relationships, and even their health. They act without understanding. They move before learning. They mistake activity for progress. But you're learning to think strategically. And one of the core rules of strategy is this: information is ammunition. Learn before you act. If clarity gives you power, information gives you accuracy. It helps you see clearly, aim correctly, and move with confidence. It gives you an advantage most people never develop, because most people don't slow down to learn before taking action. Let's break down this habit and show how to use knowledge wisely without getting stuck overthinking. Smart strategists gather before they advance. Every great strategist, from ancient thinkers to modern leaders, shares one belief: knowledge matters, but only the right knowledge. The goal isn't to know everything. It's to know enough of the right things to make smart decisions. Imagine you're starting a business. What information actually matters? Who are your customers? What do they already buy? What frustrates them? What's missing in the market? What are competitors doing? And more importantly, what are they not doing? You don't need advanced degrees to find this. You need curiosity and discipline. Here's the mindset shift. Stop guessing. Start discovering. Make research part of your strategy, not as an excuse to delay, but as fuel for action. The strongest strategic moves often look effortless on the surface, but behind them is always insight. How to collect useful, timely information. Let's make this practical. There are 3 filters you should use when gathering information: relevance, timeliness, and credibility. Relevance means asking, does this help me solve a problem or make a decision right now? Don't chase information just to feel informed. Timeliness matters because the world changes quickly. Don't build plans on outdated advice. Credibility matters because not all voices deserve your attention. Ask yourself, is this source experienced and proven, or just loud? The internet is full of noise. Your job is to find the signal. Once you've identified a few reliable sources, start broad and then narrow in. For example, if you want to improve your finances, don't blindly follow the first influencer you see. Read foundational books. Compare ideas. Study real data. Talk to people who've achieved what you want. Then go deeper. Ask, what does this mean for my situation? What's the context? How can I apply this practically? Strategic thinkers don't stop at what happened. They ask why it happened and what lessons it offers. Avoiding the extremes. Overthinking and rushing. Now, let's address the 2 common traps: endless analysis and reckless action. Strategic thinking lives in the middle. Some people keep researching, waiting for perfect clarity that never comes. Others jump in without preparation and crash. Both paths lead to trouble. A better approach is this: learn enough to understand the landscape. Identify what you don't know. Fill the most important gaps. Then move forward with a plan that's strong but flexible. Think of it this way: you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, but you also wouldn't redraw the blueprint forever. The goal isn't perfect information. It's sufficient insight to move wisely. Ask yourself, what do I need to know to make a confident decision? What's the minimum knowledge required to act intelligently? Once you reach that point, move forward and adjust along the way. Turning knowledge into action, this is where strategy separates itself from trivia. Gathering information alone isn't enough. You must turn it into insight. That means asking questions like, what patterns am I seeing? What's working and why? Where are the gaps? What are others overlooking that I can use to my advantage? Imagine you're planning a career change. You research the market and notice that your target roles value communication and data skills. That's insight. Now you know what to do. Learn those skills. Build projects around them. Position yourself accordingly. That's information transformed into strategy. Here's a simple 3-step process. First, collect wisely using relevance, timeliness, and credibility. Second, synthesize quickly. Don't just copy information, connect it. Look for patterns, contradictions, and opportunities. Third, act immediately. Test your insight through small, low-risk actions. Learn fast and adjust faster. Remember, information without direction is useless. Insight without action is just mental entertainment. Information as a long-term advantage. Strategic thinkers treat knowledge like an investment. The more you learn, the more connections your mind can make. The more patterns you recognize, the faster and smarter your decisions become. This is why high performers read constantly, not to memorize information, but to train their minds to recognize patterns. Every book, every conversation, every article adds another tool to your mental toolkit. And one day, during a critical negotiation or a split-second decision, you'll reach for that tool and use exactly what you need. That isn't luck. That's strategic preparation. So ask yourself, what should I be learning this week? What area of my life or work would improve dramatically if I became more informed? Choose that area and dive in. Not forever, just enough to think more clearly than the majority of people who never prepare. Final thoughts don't just move. Move with understanding. Let's close this chapter with a powerful truth. Speed is valuable. Intelligence is stronger. Speed combined with intelligence is unstoppable. You don't need to be the loudest, flashiest, or most naturally talented. You only need to see clearly while others guess. Because when you learn before acting, you don't simply react. You respond with intention. You save time. You avoid unnecessary mistakes. You increase your chances of success. That's not magic. That's strategy. So remember this. Gather information that is relevant, current, and trustworthy. Avoid the extremes. Don't freeze in analysis or rush in blindly. Turn research into insight and insight into action. In a noisy world, the thinker wins. And now, you're stepping into strategic mastery. Chapter 4. Seeing the board. Mastering the big picture. Imagine two people playing chess. One is focused only on the next move. The other is watching the entire board, thinking several moves ahead, studying patterns instead of just pieces. Who wins? The one who sees the whole board. In life, business, relationships, and decision-making, success is rarely about what's directly in front of you. The strongest strategists don't just react. They see how everything connects. They understand patterns. They anticipate what's coming next. That's what this chapter is about. Big picture thinking. Because in a world filled with distractions, the ability to zoom out and see clearly is a powerful advantage. Systems thinking. Strategy at the macro level. At the core of big picture thinking is something called systems thinking. What does that mean? It's the ability to understand how individual parts interact within a larger whole. Instead of viewing problems in isolation, you recognize patterns, dependencies, and hidden causes. Let's make it practical. Imagine you're a manager and your team's performance is declining. Most people would focus only on individuals and push harder. A systems thinker asks different questions. Has the workload changed? Are the tools outdated? Is communication breaking down? Is there a problem upstream creating issues downstream? They look for root causes instead of surface symptoms. That's strategic thinking in action. Every problem exists within a system. Once you understand the system, you can influence it, redesign it, and outmaneuver it. Connecting dots. Others miss. Strategic thinkers have a rare ability. They connect dots where others see chaos. They recognize relationships across industries, disciplines, and time. While most people stay locked in their lane, strategists scan the horizon. They look for trends, ripple effects, turning points, and hidden relationships. This networked way of thinking is powerful. Take Elon Musk as an example. Regardless of opinion, his strategy connects energy, transportation, artificial intelligence, and space. That's not random. That's systems thinking. You don't need to be a billionaire to do this. You just need to practice stepping back and asking bigger questions. How does this fit into the larger picture? What are the second and third order effects? Who else does this impact? What pattern is forming? Big picture thinkers don't only see what is. They see what could be. Pattern recognition, the strategist's edge. Let's go deeper. Big picture thinking trains your brain to spot patterns. And patterns are a strategist's most powerful weapon. Why? Because behavior, markets, and growth all follow patterns. When you recognize one, you can predict outcomes, avoid repeating mistakes, and identify leverage points. For example, you may notice that under pressure, you tend to rush decisions. That's a pattern. Once you see it, you can plan for it and protect yourself. Or maybe you notice your team struggles every time a product launches without customer feedback. That's a pattern too. Now you can adjust your approach. Strategic thinkers don't just work harder. They learn faster by studying patterns. Ask yourself often, what's really happening beneath the surface here? The more you look for patterns, the clearer they become. And the more you act on them, the stronger your strategy grows. Mapping the landscape, players, power, and positioning. This is where strategy becomes practical. Strong strategists map situations like generals or expert negotiators. They don't walk in blind. They ask important questions. Who are the key players, both visible and behind the scenes? Where does influence really sit? Who controls decisions, opinions, or resources? What positions do people hold? What do they want to gain or avoid losing? How are alliances shifting? Whether you're entering a business deal, a negotiation, or a relationship, this awareness gives you clarity. And clarity gives you power. Imagine applying for a job. You don't just send a resume. You research the hiring team, learn about the company's values, identify decision makers, and understand who might support you internally. That's how you play the board, not just the move. In personal relationships, this kind of mapping matters just as much. Who influences your partner's choices? What emotional forces are operating beneath the surface? Where are the unspoken expectations? Seeing the board helps you avoid hidden traps and recognize opportunities others miss. Thinking in layers and timelines, big picture thinkers don't just think broadly. They think long term. They consider timelines. What happens if I do this today, next month, next year? They think in layers. What's the surface problem? What's the deeper emotional or systemic issue underneath it? What will this decision affect several steps down the road? Imagine you're considering a career change. Instead of only asking, will this pay more? You also ask, how will this change my lifestyle? What skills will I gain? Where does this path lead in 5 years? What doors does it open, and which ones does it close? That's layered thinking, and it turns choices into long-term investments instead of short-term reactions. Here's a simple daily habit. Before you act, zoom out. Ask yourself, what ripple effects could this decision create? Over time, you'll naturally begin thinking on multiple levels, like a chess grandmaster planning not just the next move, but the next 5. Avoiding tunnel vision and short-term traps. One of the greatest dangers in life is tunnel vision. Getting so locked onto one goal or problem that you lose sight of the bigger picture. Tunnel vision leads to bad decisions. Choosing speed over sustainability. Winning today, but losing tomorrow. Fixing one issue while creating 3 more. Strategic thinkers zoom out before they zoom in. They ask, is this part of the long game? What trade-offs am I making? Am I even solving the right problem? This isn't about being overly cautious. It's about being calm, deliberate, and calculated. When you see the board, chaos doesn't panic you because you've already mapped the terrain. Final thoughts. See further, play smarter. Let's tie it all together. Big picture thinking isn't reserved for CEOs, generals, or elites. It's available to anyone willing to train their mind to think wider, deeper, and further ahead. Here's the takeaway. Start asking bigger questions. Look for connections, patterns, and power dynamics. Identify the players, understand the pieces, and anticipate the moves. While others focus on the next step, you're planning the next 10. That isn't luck. That's vision. And the ability to see the board is how you outsmart challenges before they even appear. Chapter 5. Anticipation. The key to outsmarting obstacles in every game, negotiation, or challenge. There's a moment when the person who sees ahead quietly takes control. No drama. No sudden moves. Just calm execution. They already know what's coming. They've already thought it through. While others react, they act. That's the power of anticipation. Strategic thinkers don't wait for the wave to crash. They watch the tide and position themselves before the storm. They don't only prepare for what's likely. They prepare for what's possible. This chapter invites you to start thinking 2, 3, even 10 steps ahead, not with fear, but with clarity and confidence. The art of thinking several moves ahead. Let's return to the chessboard. What separates a beginner from a master? It's not memory. It's anticipation. Masters understand that every move reshapes the future. So they don't ask, what should I do next? They ask, what will this trigger? How will others respond? Where does this lead several moves from now? In life, this looks like starting a side project knowing it creates future freedom. Saying no to an opportunity because it leads to the wrong kind of yes. Investing in a relationship because trust built now pays off later. This isn't magic. It's foresight. And foresight is a skill. You develop it by stepping outside the moment and asking, if I choose this path, what's likely to happen next? Then you keep going. Follow the chain forward. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Soon, you'll start seeing future outcomes forming before they arrive. Scenario planning. Preparing for multiple futures. Life isn't a straight line. It brings surprises, setbacks, and sudden shifts. That's why strong strategists don't rely on a single plan. They use scenario planning. Instead of betting everything on one outcome, they prepare for several possibilities. This isn't paranoia. It's positioning. Here's how to think in scenarios. The likely outcome. What's the most probable result? This is your baseline plan. The best case outcome. If things go better than expected, how do you expand, scale, or capitalize? The worst case outcome. If things go wrong, how do you protect yourself? What's your exit or damage control plan? The wild card. What if something unexpected happens? A new competitor, a sudden opportunity, a personal change. How do you stay flexible? This approach is used by elite entrepreneurs, military leaders, and even astronauts. And it works just as well in everyday life. Changing careers? Map both success and setbacks. Launching a product? Plan for delays, demand spikes, and failures. Starting a relationship? Think ahead about values, goals, and friction points. The goal isn't predicting the future. It's being ready no matter which version shows up. Contingency thinking. Your hidden armor closely related to scenario planning is contingency thinking. This is your backup mindset. The ability to say, if plan A fails, I already have plan B, C, and D. Why does this matter? Because it removes fear. It builds confidence. It allows you to move forward calmly, even when things don't go as expected. Think of contingency thinking like a mental parachute. You hope you never need it, but knowing it's there gives you freedom to act boldly. Ask yourself, what's my next move if this doesn't work? How can I pivot without losing momentum? What small adjustments could turn setbacks into progress? With contingency thinking, obstacles stop being dead ends and become alternate paths. You stop fearing uncertainty and start working with it. Reading people, anticipating behavior before it happens now lets shift from systems and scenarios to people. Because when you can anticipate human behavior, your strategic advantage multiplies. Every decision, negotiation, and collaboration involves people. And while people are unique, their motivations often follow recognizable patterns if you know how to look. Here's where it starts. Study motivation. Ask yourself, what does this person truly want? Is it security, respect, power, freedom, or recognition? Watch for patterns. How do they act under pressure? How do they respond to conflict? What have they done in similar situations before? Pay attention to what's between the lines. What isn't being said? What emotions or fears are shaping their tone, silence, or excitement? Anticipate their reactions. If you challenge them, will they become defensive? If you encourage them, will they open up? If you suggest change, will they resist or adapt? When you learn to read people this way, your strategic options expand. You lead with greater impact. You negotiate more precisely. You defuse tension before it erupts. And most importantly, you build trust by showing others they're understood. People don't want to be controlled. They want to be recognized. And the better you understand them, the better you can predict their moves and work alongside them instead of against them. Training your mind to anticipate. Now, let's talk habits. How do you make anticipation feel natural? Here are 5 powerful practices. First, pause before deciding. Before any major choice, ask yourself, what are the next 3 likely outcomes of this decision? Create distance between impulse and action. Second, run mental simulations. Picture different scenarios, good, bad, and unexpected. Ask, how would I respond? This strengthens mental flexibility. Third, use the 10 to 10 rule. How will this choice affect me in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years? It stretches your time horizon. Fourth, keep a what-if journal. Regularly write down what-if situations and how you would respond. Think of it as training for uncertainty. Fifth, review your decisions. After important moments, reflect. What did I expect? What actually happened? What did I overlook? This turns experience into insight. Every time you successfully anticipate, even in small ways, you sharpen your edge and build mental reflexes that serve you when it truly matters. Final thoughts. From reaction to prediction, anticipation isn't about fearing the unknown. It's about mastering it. It's the shift from reacting to predicting, from merely surviving to strategically navigating, from confusion to clarity. And here's the good news. You don't need to see the entire future. You only need to see further than most people. When you think several moves ahead, prepare for multiple outcomes, and read people accurately, you stop being a pawn in the game and become the one moving the pieces. That's the power of anticipation. And now, it belongs to you. Chapter 6. Timing is strategy. When to move and when to wait. There's a saying among experienced strategists. The right action at the wrong time is still the wrong action. Insight, power, and bold vision mean nothing if your timing is off. Move too early and you waste energy. Wait too long and opportunity slips away. But act at the perfect moment and suddenly doors open. This chapter is about mastering that balance. Not just knowing what to do, but knowing when to do it. Timing is strategy. It's the silent force behind major breakthroughs, decisive victories, and choices that seem effortless in hindsight. Let's explore why. Why patience is the ultimate strategic weapon. Here's a hard truth. Most people don't fail because they lack ideas or ambition. They fail because they move too quickly. They chase short-term wins. They act on impulse. They push when they should pause. Patience often feels like weakness, like doing nothing. But in reality, patience is hidden power. Strategic patience is active. It means waiting with awareness, preparing while others panic, and observing while others rush. Look at nature. An eagle doesn't flap wildly. It glides, waits, watches, and strikes at the perfect moment. An archer doesn't release instantly. They draw, steady, breathe, then shoot. A skilled negotiator doesn't rush to speak. They listen, evaluate, and respond with precision. This kind of waiting isn't passive. It's intentional. It's informed. And it recognizes the difference between motion and progress. The goal isn't speed. The goal is accuracy. Identifying high-leverage moments. So how do you know when it's time to act? This is where leverage comes in. Moments when a small action creates a massive result. High-leverage moments are the heart of strategy. One conversation that changes an entire deal. One adjustment that turns around a failing project. One message sent at the perfect time. These moments are easy to miss if you're not paying attention. Here's how to spot them. Watch for rising tension. Often, the best time to act is when pressure is at its peak, when your move can bring clarity, resolution, or release. In negotiations, this might be when silence stretches and the other side is leaning in. Time the market, not your mood. Whether it's business, relationships, or career moves, align your actions with external readiness, not internal impatience. Emotions can mislead. Patterns don't. Pay attention to signals, not just surface noise. Watch for subtle shifts, changes in behavior, timing, readiness, or influence. Opportunity often whispers before it knocks. Leverage the window of readiness. Timing isn't only about when you're ready. It's about when the world is ready. Launch too early and you struggle. Wait too long and momentum fades. Build anticipation, then move with it. Think of surfing. You can't control the waves, but if you learn to read them, you'll know exactly when to paddle, when to stand, and when to ride, without acting on impulse. The enemy of great timing. Impulsiveness. We've all felt it. A rush of excitement, a burst of motivation, and suddenly you've sent the message, made the call, or taken the leap. Sometimes it works. Most of the time, it doesn't. Impulsive decisions are reactive. They feel urgent, but they lack context. And in strategy, context is everything. Here's how to reduce impulsive mistakes without losing momentum. Build a delay rule. For major decisions, wait 24 hours. This habit alone can prevent years of regret. Ask the 5-year question. Will this still matter in 5 years? It reframes emotion into perspective. Identify your triggers: fear, ego, boredom, pressure. Once you recognize what pushes you to rush, you regain control. Seek a neutral perspective. A trusted mentor or friend isn't emotionally invested and can spot timing issues you might miss. Shift from reaction to response. Reaction is instant. Response is intentional. Always choose intention. Strategy is about increasing your odds, not gambling on adrenaline. Escaping analysis paralysis. Now let's look at the opposite problem, overthinking. Some people wait too long. They analyze endlessly, consider every angle, and imagine every possible failure. They don't miss opportunities because they're late. They miss them because they never move. Here's how to break free without sacrificing strategy. Set a decision deadline. Give yourself a clear time frame. Decisions thrive under structure. Define enough information. You don't need all the facts, only the right ones. Use the 70% rule. If you're about 70% confident, act. Waiting for total certainty closes windows. Trust the process, not just outcomes. You can't control results, but clear thinking usually leads to good timing. Perfection kills progress. Many high performers wait for the perfect plan, but perfection doesn't exist. Momentum matters more than mastery. You can adjust while moving, but you can't steer something that's standing still. The strategic balance. Speed and stillness. So how do you balance patience and action? Strategy is a dance between waiting and moving. You pause long enough to see clearly, then act quickly when the moment arrives. You're patient, but prepared. That balance looks like this. A founder who doesn't rush to launch, but doesn't miss the market window. A job seeker who waits for alignment, not just availability. A creator who waits until the work is strong, but doesn't endlessly edit. This is the strategic sweet spot. When you master it, you stop chasing life and start meeting it exactly where it's most powerful. Final thoughts. Time is your advantage. Time isn't your enemy. It's your weapon. Timing isn't a detail of strategy. It's its heartbeat. Move too early and you fail. Move too late and you miss. Move at the right moment and everything shifts in your favor. Adopt this mindset. I don't need to rush. I don't need to wait. I need to read the moment and act with precision. Whether it's a business decision, a life change, or a daily choice, trusting timing sharpens your presence and strengthens your impact. Great strategists don't force the game. They feel the rhythm, and then they move. Chapter 7. Leverage. How to win with less effort. Behind every outsized success is a hidden factor. It's not nonstop hustle. It's not grinding yourself into exhaustion or carrying everything alone. It's leverage. Leverage means using a small input to produce a massive result. Think about it this way. One person can't lift a car, but give them a hydraulic jack, a tool that multiplies force, and suddenly the impossible becomes easy. That's leverage. And it's available to you right now. You don't need superhuman strength. You need strategic thinking. In this chapter, you'll learn how to spot hidden leverage points, work smarter instead of harder, and use people, tools, and systems to multiply your impact. Ready to stop pushing harder and start pulling smarter? Let's begin. What leverage really means. Leverage is often mentioned, but rarely defined. In strategic terms, leverage means using minimal time, effort, or resources to create maximum impact. It's about building force multipliers, actions that produce results far beyond their size. Here are a few real-world examples. One social media post that attracts thousands of customers. An automation that saves hours every week. A single connection that opens doors to new opportunities. One decision that eliminates multiple daily problems. Strategic thinkers don't just ask, "What should I do?" They ask, "How can I make this simpler, smarter, and more effective?" That question changes everything. Step 1. Finding your leverage points. The first step is straightforward but powerful. Identify where your leverage exists. Look at your goals and ask yourself, where am I spending most of my effort for little return? And where am I getting most of my results from very little effort? This is the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. It shows that most outcomes come from a small portion of inputs. The strategy is simple: double down on what matters most. Here are 4 leverage areas to examine in your own life. Time leverage. What tasks can you automate, delegate, or remove entirely? Skill leverage. What skill gives you the highest return, and are you fully using it? Network leverage. Who do you already know who has access, insight, or influence? Platform leverage matters too. Are you building assets, content, tools, systems, or a reputation that keep working even when you're not? The goal isn't to do more. It's to do less, better. Step 2. Working smarter, not harder. There's a common myth that success only comes from grinding nonstop. Effort matters, but smart effort is what separates high performers from the burned out. Here's how to shift into working smarter. Batch and block your work. Group similar tasks like emails, meetings, and creative work into focused time blocks. This reduces mental switching and increases efficiency. Systemize repetition. Anything you do more than twice should have a process. Templates, checklists, or standard steps. These aren't just for companies. They're for anyone who values time. Use the rule of 3. Choose 3 high-impact tasks each day. When everything feels important, nothing truly is. Focus creates leverage. Ask better questions. Instead of asking, "How do I get this done?" ask, "How can this be done without me? How can this be done faster? What would make this unnecessary?" Strategic questions open smarter paths. Step 3. Leveraging relationships. One of the most powerful and underused forms of leverage is people. As Isaac Newton said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." You don't need to know everything. You need access to people who do. Here's how to build relationship leverage the right way. Be a giver first. Help others solve problems before asking for anything. Trust is leverage, and trust is earned through value. Map your network. Who do you know? What are they good at? Where can you help each other? Create a personal relationship map, and you'll realize how connected you already are. Collaborate instead of competing. Find people with complementary strengths. Partner, co-create, and build together. When synergy is right, 1 + 1 becomes 5. Leverage mentors and allies. A 30-minute conversation with the right mentor can save years of trial and error. Reach out, ask thoughtful questions, and listen closely. People aren't just contacts. They're catalysts. Step 4. Leveraging technology and tools. We live in a time where leverage is instantly available through technology, yet many people use it mainly for distraction. Here's how to turn tools into time savers instead of time wasters. Automate repetitive tasks. Use scheduling tools, workflow automation, and AI for writing, summarizing, or research. Every automated minute is time reclaimed. Use AI as an amplifier, not a replacement. Strategic thinkers don't fear technology. They use it to think faster, research deeper, and execute better. Ask yourself, what can AI help me start, speed up, or simplify? Build systems, dashboards, templates, spreadsheets, and databases. Reduce mental clutter and free your mind for higher-level thinking. Invest once, benefit long-term. The right tools, software, or setup can serve you for years. One-time investments often create ongoing leverage. Every tool is either a lever or a distraction. Choose wisely. Step 5. Leveraging resources. Resources aren't just money. They include time, energy, knowledge, people, and position. Strategic thinkers ask, what do I already have that I'm not fully using? What resource would change everything? How can I turn limitations into creative advantages? Use resources smarter. Repurpose old work into new value. Turn articles into books, videos into courses. Trade skills instead of buying services. Identify underused assets, space, tools, connections, and reimagine how they can serve you. Leverage is rarely about more. It's about better. Final mindset shift. Leverage isn't laziness. Some people confuse leverage with cutting corners. They believe real success requires constant struggle. Here's the truth. Leverage isn't about avoiding work. It's about designing effort, so every ounce counts. It's the difference between digging with a spoon and using an excavator. That's not cheating. That's thinking. And once you understand that, a new level of possibility opens up. Final thoughts. Build a life that compounds. The most powerful form of leverage is compounding. Relationships that deepen over time. Content and assets that keep working while you sleep. Habits and systems that improve with use. Leverage isn't just about today's effort. It's about setting up momentum that builds tomorrow and the day after that. Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the world. Archimedes, you already have the lever. You're finding your footing. And now you're ready to move mountains with less force, more finesse, and multiplied strategic power. Chapter 8. Adapting on the fly. Strategic agility in action. Life rarely follows the plan. Your strategy may be solid. Your goals may be clear. You may feel prepared until everything shifts. Rules change. Markets flip. Relationships strain. The unexpected shows up without warning. This is where many people freeze, panic, or quit. But not the strategic thinker. Here's the truth every master strategist understands. Plans matter, but adaptability matters more. Flexibility isn't weakness. It's intelligence in motion. In this chapter, you'll learn how to pivot without panic, make strong decisions under pressure, and stay flexible without losing direction. In short, how to bend without breaking. The power of strategic agility. Agility is one of the most underrated forms of power today. It's not enough to be smart. You must be smart while moving. Strategic agility means responding to change with clarity, deciding quickly without recklessness, and realigning action without abandoning long-term vision. It's calm under pressure. It's flow in motion. It's the ability to adapt instantly without losing control. This isn't guesswork. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained. How to pivot without panic. Panic comes from surprise, believing you had control and suddenly realizing you don't. The first rule of strategic agility is simple. Expect disruption. Change, setbacks, delays, and failure aren't exceptions. They're normal. The real question isn't if things will go wrong, but how ready you are when they do. Here's how to pivot calmly. Slow down before speeding up. When everything feels urgent, pause. Breathe. Create space. Ask what's actually happening and what truly matters now. Reassess the landscape. Strategists update their mental maps in real time. Ask what's changed, what's still true, and which assumptions need adjusting. Define a new objective. Is the original goal still possible? Is there a better outcome available now? Pivoting isn't quitting. It's recalculating. Just like GPS rerouting, it means you're still moving, just with better information. Real-time decision-making. Sometimes there's no time to research or prepare. You have to decide now. Strategic thinkers rely on clear frameworks to move fast without freezing. One powerful tool is the OODA loop, developed by military strategist John Boyd. Observe. What are the facts right now? Orient. What do those facts mean in your situation? Decide. Choose the best available option. Act. Move quickly and be ready to repeat the cycle. This loop keeps you adaptable, alert, and one step ahead. Define your decision filters when pressure hits. You don't want to invent standards on the spot. Decide your filters in advance. Does this choice align with my values? Does it protect or move forward my long-term vision? Does it avoid damage that can't be undone? These questions cut through noise and help you act with clarity. Trust your trained instincts. Strategic agility blends logic with intuition. The more you train your mind through reading, reflection, and pattern recognition, the calmer and sharper your instincts become. At that point, your gut isn't guessing, it's drawing from experience. Don't ignore intuition. Just make sure it's an intuition shaped by learning, not impulse. Staying flexible while remaining focused. This balance is where most people struggle. Some become rigid and refuse to adjust. Others become scattered, constantly changing direction. The key is to stay flexible in approach, but fixed in purpose. Hold your vision loosely, not your plan. Your why shouldn't change every week, but your how should. If your goal is to grow a business, publish a book, or improve your health, that vision remains. The route, however, may need frequent adjustment. Ask yourself, what mountain am I climbing, and what path makes sense now that the terrain has changed? Flexibility isn't losing sight of the goal. It's choosing a better route when the old one collapses. Use feedback instead of fear. Fear causes retreat. Feedback creates improvement. Everything is feedback. A failed launch, a missed opportunity, an unexpected turn. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What can I improve? What did I learn about myself? Strategic thinkers don't avoid feedback. They use it as fuel. Maintain routines during chaos. When uncertainty rises, habits become anchors. Morning routines, journaling, weekly reviews, mindset resets keep them consistent. These rituals steady you. Stability in behavior creates clarity in thinking. Strategic agility in the real world. Consider Netflix. It began as a DVD by mail service. As internet speeds increased, it pivoted to streaming. Instead of clinging to the past, it adapted early. Later, it moved into original content, competing directly with major studios. Each pivot strengthened its position. Strategic agility built a global powerhouse. Now consider a freelancer during the pandemic. When event photography work vanished, she didn't panic. She asked where demand was growing. She pivoted to e-commerce product photography and built a remote workflow. Within 6 months, she earned more than before. She didn't wait for conditions to improve. She adapted quickly and clearly. That's strategic agility in action. Final thoughts. Flexibility wins. The future belongs to those who can adapt. Everything is changing: industries, tools, opportunities. Rigid minds break. Reactive minds panic. Strategic minds adjust, evolve, and move forward. Like bamboo in a storm, they bend but don't snap. You don't need perfect plans to outsmart challenges. You need a flexible strategy anchored in clear values, steady thinking, and a strong vision. Adaptability isn't a backup option. It's your greatest advantage. Chapter 9. Psychological Strategy. Outsmarting through influence. In the chessboard of life and leadership, brute force rarely wins. True power lies in influence, the ability to shape thoughts, emotions, and actions without force. This is psychological strategy. Not violence, but mind mastery. It's about understanding why people act the way they do and guiding decisions ethically and effectively. In this chapter, you'll explore human motivation, strategic communication, and ethical persuasion. These invisible forces are what make strategic thinkers truly powerful. Understanding human behavior and motivation before influencing others, you must understand what drives them. Every decision is shaped by emotions, needs, and beliefs. People are predictably irrational. Although we like to think we're logical, most decisions are guided by emotion, habit, and bias. Nobel Prize winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman showed that our minds rely on shortcuts, heuristics that often lead to irrational choices. Strategic thinkers use this knowledge to anticipate behavior and guide outcomes. The 3 core human needs. Psychologists often identify 3 universal drivers. Autonomy, the need for control. Belonging, the desire to connect. Competence, the need to feel capable. When your strategy appeals to these needs, whether in leadership or negotiation, motivation increases dramatically. The power of storytelling. Humans are wired for stories. Facts inform, but stories move people. Stories create emotion, simplify complexity, and make ideas memorable. Strategic thinkers use storytelling to turn logic into influence. Strategic communication and persuasion. Understanding motivation is only the first step. Communication is how influence happens. Listening is the foundation. Before persuading, listen deeply. What do they fear? What do they value? What objections do they hold? Listening builds trust and reveals leverage points. Speak their language. Effective communicators adapt. Logical thinkers want data. Emotional thinkers want meaning. Meet people where they are. The principle of reciprocity. People naturally return kindness. Giving value first, a compliment, insight, or help creates goodwill and openness. But authenticity matters. Manipulation always backfires. Framing and anchoring how information is presented shapes decisions. Framing highlights certain aspects. Anchoring sets reference points. Saying $10 a day feels lighter than $300 a month. Strategic framing increases impact without deception. The ethics of influence. Influence carries responsibility. Ethical influence respects freedom, avoids manipulation, and seeks mutual benefit. When influence is grounded in integrity, it builds trust, the foundation of lasting power. Practical ethics include transparency, listening more than speaking, respecting boundaries, and aiming for win-win outcomes. Ethical influence isn't weakness, it's strength. Real-world examples of influence. Nelson Mandela's power came from understanding fear and hope on both sides of apartheid. Through listening, empathy, and vision, he changed a nation's mindset. Steve Jobs didn't just sell technology. He sold stories, identity, and possibility. He understood emotion as deeply as innovation and used both strategically. He didn't just sell products. He sold dreams. His presentations told stories that connected deeply with people's identities and aspirations, turning Apple into a cultural icon. Final thoughts. The invisible edge. The most powerful battles aren't fought with weapons. They're fought in the mind. When you master psychological influence, you gain an invisible advantage over challenges and competitors. Remember this. Understand what motivates people. Communicate with clarity and empathy. Influence ethically and respectfully. This is strategic thinking at its highest level. Chapter 10: Execution. Turning strategy into real-world results. You have a vision. You've learned to think strategically. You've adapted with agility. You understand influence and leadership. But none of it matters without execution. Execution is where ideas become reality. It's the bridge between thinking and results. This is where many people get stuck. They have smart plans, but struggle to take consistent action. They lose momentum or feel overwhelmed by details. That's why this chapter matters. Here, you'll learn how to turn plans into action by building habits, systems, and feedback loops that keep you moving forward, no matter what. Bridging the gap between plans and action. A strategy without execution is just a wish. The difference between achievers and dreamers is simple. Achievers follow through. Dreamers keep planning and hoping. So how do you move from planning to doing? Break everything down into small, clear actions. Big strategies feel heavy. Small steps feel doable. Instead of grow my business, start with contact 5 potential clients today, write 1 post this week, or launch a campaign next month. Small actions stack over time, and those stacks become massive results. Set deadlines and accountability. Deadlines create urgency. Without them, tasks drift. Add accountability by sharing goals with a mentor or friend, using calendars or apps, and rewarding progress. Accountability turns intention into action. Remove friction and distractions. Identify what slows you down. Fear, perfectionism, unclear priorities, environmental distractions. Design your space and schedule to remove obstacles so momentum flows naturally. Strategic habits and systems. Execution isn't about willpower alone. It's about habits and systems. Habits automate progress. Systems create consistency. Build keystone habits. These are small behaviors that create positive ripple effects. Morning routines, daily priority reviews, journaling lessons, and wins. Identify habits that support your strategy and practice them consistently. Create systems for repetition. Systems are repeatable workflows that produce results. Weekly planning sessions. Follow-up processes. Monthly reviews. Systems reduce decision fatigue and keep your energy focused where it matters. Measuring and refining execution. Execution isn't set it and forget it. You must track progress, learn, and adjust. Measure what matters. Track a few key indicators such as sales, leads, focused work hours, client satisfaction, or personal energy levels. Review them regularly to stay aware. Reflect and adapt. Schedule weekly or monthly reviews. Ask yourself what worked, what didn't, what needs improvement. Use these insights to refine your approach. Celebrate progress and learn from setbacks. Progress fuels motivation. Celebrate milestones, even small ones. When things go wrong, treat them as lessons, not failures. Every lesson sharpens your strategic edge. A real-world example: Elon Musk is known for breaking massive goals into tiny actionable steps. He schedules his day in short time blocks and constantly reviews progress. His success comes from pairing bold vision with relentless execution. Final thoughts. From strategy to success. Strategy without execution is like a map without movement. Execution turns thinking into impact. By breaking goals into steps, building habits and systems, and measuring progress, you transform intention into momentum. Remember this: a plan only works when you act on it consistently. Your true power isn't just in thinking, it's in doing. Closing the journey, you now hold the tools to outsmart any challenge. A mindset that thinks before reacting. Clear goals and priorities. The ability to gather and use information wisely. Big picture vision and anticipation. Mastery of timing, leverage, and agility. Ethical influence and strong execution. This is strategic thinking. Use it. Refine it. Let it turn every challenge into an opportunity. Thank you for taking this journey. Now it's your turn to step forward and outsmart whatever comes next. Conclusion. Your strategic edge. Living as a master tactician, you've moved from understanding strategy to living it. You've developed discipline, clarity, timing, leverage, influence, and execution. Now comes the most important step: making strategic thinking your way of life. Strategy isn't something you turn on and off. It becomes how you live. Every decision, conversation, and action becomes intentional. Ask yourself, how does this serve my long-term vision? What's the bigger picture? What can I learn here? Over time, your mind naturally chooses strategy over reaction. Becoming unshakable life will test you. Some challenges will surprise you. Others will shake your confidence. But when you live like a master tactician, you don't panic or freeze. You assess, adapt, and move forward with purpose. Obstacles become training. Failure becomes feedback. Uncertainty becomes opportunity. Final encouragement: every expert started as a beginner. Every strategist began with curiosity and commitment. Keep sharpening your thinking. Keep practicing your skills. And most importantly, keep acting. Because the greatest victory isn't just outsmarting others, it's outgrowing your own limits. You have the tools. You have the power. Now live strategically and win every day. Thank you for letting me guide you. Here's to your unstoppable success.